Hello everyone, and welcome to this latest video from me, MintySquidz. And this one's going to be one of those like off-the-cuff kind of like just no script. I don't do scripts for most of my videos anyway. No script kind of just talky videos as well. More like, you can do this as like a podcast kind of thing. You want to just with a video as well. Yay, videos. And basically what this is all about is at the end of last year, I did a kind of a listy little video of things that I really liked from the previous year. And I'm going to do that again this year at the end of the year, but as like a therapy thing as well, and just like a personal goal thing. I wanted to watch some more movies this year, and I did the same thing last year with some film reviews, kind of slacked off a bit at the end there with actual writing the reviews, but I want to do the same thing this year. So I wanted to watch some more movies this year and watch things I hadn't watched before. So as a goal for this year, I originally did a goal of watching like 10 movies a month or whatever, or something like that, or just have like 24 movies for the year, something small. And I decided to change it to it being a movie a day. That didn't happen. So now I've changed it to just 20 movies a month. So if I watch 20 movies a month and then just talk about them here. So I watched more than 20 in January, but this is what this video is going to be. It's just the things I watched in January, what I would basically rate them, and would I recommend watching them? Honestly, I'd say recommend watching all of them because I think film is one of those great things to just watch and have your own opinions on. So yeah, and if you watch any of these, and if you watch any of these as well, let me know in the comments what you think about these movies as well, and what you think about my ratings for them. So let's just get started, shall we? There's a lot to get through, so I'm going to try and kind of go through them a little bit quickly. I talk a lot, as you all know in my videos, so we'll see what happens here. We'll see what happens. The first movie I watched to literally start the year off on January 1st was Barbarian. I really love horror. I really love horror movies, and I heard a lot about this movie, a lot, from the people I follow online. And I went into it knowing nothing, just like literally nothing at all, because this movie is one of those things where it's like, the less you know about this movie, the better. The less you know about this movie, the better. I think it is a very unique horror movie that has an interesting premise that I think is performed really well. I think is shot really well. Sound design is very, very good. And it's a little messy. It's definitely a little messy, but you get a full sense of the vision. Directed by Zach Krieger. You can fully see a vision from him, and that's the best thing. I give it a 4 out of 5. I do technically out of 10, but Letterboxd is out of 5, so just go with that out of 5. So I give it a 4 out of 5. I thought it was good. Recommend watching it, especially if you like horror. It is a unique experience for sure, but go in knowing nothing. The second thing I watched in January was Bullet Train. So Bullet Train was a fun one because I had been wanting to watch this since it came out, and I never got the chance to. And it's directed by David Leitch, one of the people who did Deadpool, if I remember correctly. He's like one of the people who worked on Deadpool. And I wanted to watch this since it came out because I was like, this movie looks straight up my alley in every possible way. And it was. It was straight up my alley in every possible way. It's one of those movies where I now consider it to be a comfort action movie. We all have those. We all have those comfort action movies where like you can just pop it on whenever you're feeling like sick or whatever, have like a bowl of soup and just like watch a nice mindless action movie. And it's really good. I think it's performed really well. I think it's really funny. It is an action comedy beyond anything else. But I think it also has just a great like story to it. Like a great story. Has some killer music, some killer action scenes. Love the way it looks just visually with like the colors and everything like that. I think it's edited greatly. It has some lovely like Tarantino-esque flashback sequences, which I really loved. Just everything about this movie I loved. And also the cameo appearances by so many random actors and actresses. It's just like, okay, who else did they get in this movie? It was great. I love it. I highly recommend watching Bullet Train. Also, it's based on a book. I also highly recommend reading the book as well. I have it saved as an audiobook that I will get at some point. Highly recommend watching Bullet Train. I give it a 4.5 out of 5. I don't normally give 5 stars for anything unless it's like perfect, and that's very rare for me. It's very rare. But 4.5 is probably the biggest thing you're going to get, and it highly recommend it completely. Then I went a little bit animated because this was on Disney Plus finally, and I watched Strange World. Strange World was okay. It was okay. It is a perfectly serviceable animated family movie. I think it was a little too long for what it was trying to go for. I think it was a little too bland for what it was trying to go for. I think it was okay. And also the animation for me felt weird. Like, the animation style itself felt weird. Disney's in-house animation style for me as of late has been very hit or miss. Ever since basically Moana, in a way. Ever since basically Moana, they've had a very samey animation style, where it didn't used to be like that with Disney, where they actually had like vibrancy with their animation. I think honestly ever since they went to like just straight up 3D animation, they've kind of got a little samey with their animation style. So it's okay. It honestly reminded me a lot of like a Dr. Seuss Illumination movie with how some of the characters moved. I'm like, that just is throwing me off completely. But I think that's the best way to put it. It didn't feel like a Disney movie. It felt like another company's movie. And it's directed by Don Hall. So cool. Directed by Don Hall. And it has some really great voice acting in it too, for some really great like people in it. But I think ultimately this movie just really fell flat. Just really fell flat. I think the overall message of the movie, about it being a very environmentally cautious movie, I think is good. It just, the message of it kind of got to the movie really late, like really late, and it was just okay. It was just an okay movie. I'd recommend it just if you like animation, just to watch it, especially since it didn't get any chance in actual box office in theaters because it just kind of got buried by everything else and no one knew it came out. So I definitely say give it a shot and watch it. I gave it a 3.5. I'd probably actually put it down to a 3, honestly. Think about it. I'd probably put it down to 3 stars, but I give it a 3.5 in my letterbox. So, you know, just go with that. This is a fun one. Movie See How They Run. I actually did a trailer reaction to this movie back in the early months of my channel because I just like whodunits. I like whodunit mystery things, and I just love it. And also the cast of it was just so amazing, and the trailer made it look like it was a very Wes Anderson-y style of whodunit. It is not that Wes Anderson-y type movie at all. There's like a couple of scenes that are framed kind of like a Wes Anderson movie, but it is not like that at all. That is complete false advertising from the trailer. Directed by Tom George. So cool, directed by Tom George. And it stars Sam Rockwell and Saoirse Ronan, who I love them. I love them so much, and they are so good in this movie. And honestly, just overall, I love this movie. I really love this movie. I gave it a 4 stars, 4 out of 5. I love this movie. I thought there was just a couple of points in it where I was like, okay, this is going a little too slow, or they're just kind of repeating stuff at this point. But overall, I absolutely adored this movie. Definitely watch it. I believe it's still on HBO Max. Just go watch this movie. It's really fun. And it's a really fun whodunit as well. It's just a really fun whodunit. So definitely go watch it. Also, I was laughing a lot in this movie. It has some very good humor in it. Very good humor. Speaking of good humor and just great movies, this next one is still my top movie of the year so far, and top movie of January for sure. It was The Menu. It was The Menu, which is directed by Mark Mylod? Mark Mylod. Cool, Mark Mylod. The Menu is a movie you should go into, just like Barbarian, not knowing anything other than it is spectacular. Just absolutely spectacular. It is a phenomenal black comedy. You should know it's a black comedy though. So it is a satirical thriller. You should definitely go into there knowing that. If you like food, if you like satire, if you like thrillers, and you like Anya Taylor-Joy, go into this movie and watch it. Just simply watch it. It is the best thing I've watched in January by, I'm not going to say by a mile, because there's like a lot of good things I watched in January, but it's so good. So good. And it really started my refound love of Anya Taylor-Joy. She's phenomenal. She is just absolutely phenomenal in this movie. Just go watch this movie. I gave it a 4.5 stars. Honestly, if I actually gave 5 stars, this movie would be a 5 star. This movie would be a 5-star movie. There were a couple of moments where I'm like, okay, you can kind of move on from here a little bit, or like some of the jokes didn't necessarily land, some of the writing didn't necessarily land fully for me, but overall, phenomenal thing. Just please go watch The Menu. Just go watch The Menu. It's so good. It's so good. Next one, I'm not going to talk about that long. I watched Don't Worry, Darling. I didn't like it. I was really anticipating this movie. I was really excited for this movie, based on seeing the one trailer I saw for it. With the cast especially, like I love Florence Pugh. I absolutely love Florence Pugh in everything she's in. She hard carries this movie because this movie is not good. Also, Chris Pine. great in this movie. The movie's still not good. This movie had a lot of issues backstage, like a lot of issues behind the scenes that became memes and became like fun topics to talk about for sure. And you can kind of tell it in the actual finished product. You can tell in the finished product this movie had some issues. So I'm not going to talk about it long. I gave it a 2-star. 2 stars probably about the lowest I'm going to give a movie, unless it's really just not good. Unless it's like a Morbius, I'm only going to give it a 2-star. It's not good. I don't recommend it. But honestly, like I said at the very beginning, go watch all these movies anyway to give your own opinions on it. I just did not like Don't Worry Darling at all. Movie I did like, though, was X from Ty West. Also, Don't Worry Darling was supposedly directed by Olivia Wilde. More than likely probably directed by Florence Pugh based on all the behind-the-scenes stuff that happened. But X on the other hand, phenomenal horror movie. Phenomenal slasher movie. Just, I don't even know how to even talk about X. I don't even know how to talk about it other than it is a star-making performance for Maya Goth, along with the next movie I'm going to be talking about. It is a masterful avant-garde auteur type film from Ty West that just fully understands like 70s gore, like slasher gore films, splatter horror I believe is what it's called, and also just really understands like the sex industry and how, and like it doesn't vilify it. It doesn't vilify any of these characters at all. It's just like, no, these are just all people that just love what they do, and it's great. Also, Jenna Ortega's in this movie and she's phenomenal in it. She doesn't talk much, but she's just phenomenal being there, and she has a definite scream queen type of voice. But this movie is so good because Maya Goth is just in it and is phenomenal in it. And I can't really say much about Maya Goth's performance in this movie as much as I can about her next movie, which I also watched. Also 4.5 stars for X. Phenomenal movie. Absolutely phenomenal movie. The next one, though, is really Maya Goth's, like, big moment, and it's Pearl, which also came out the same year, in the same franchise. Ty West, the madman, made 2 movies in a franchise in the same year. Like, released them in the same year. I don't know how that's humanly possible. But Maya Goth's in it as well, playing the titular Pearl. Oh boy, she is a tour de force in this movie. Like, she is a tour de force in this movie. I don't think I like Pearl as much as X, personally. I don't think I liked it as much as X. However, Maya Goth in Pearl is one of the greatest things I've ever seen. And if she does not get award recognition for this movie, I don't understand. Granted, the Academy in general is really bad anyway, and I don't think she got nominated for anything, because I know the nomination came out. I don't think she got nominated for anything. So that's horrendous. But beyond all that, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Also directed by Ty West. There are 2 specific scenes. They come near the end of the movie. There are 2 specific scenes. I'm not going to say what they are. But just as a fan of cinema and a fan of film, my God, Maya Goth just gets it. She just gets it and is just, she just gets it. She just fully gets it. 4.5 as well. I liked it a little bit less than X, just a little bit. Phenomenal movie. Just phenomenal movie. Completely different from the last 2. Completely different from the last 2 is an anime movie from a couple years ago from Netflix called Words Bubble Up Like Soda Pop. Yeah, this is a really diverse list, everyone. This is a very, very, very diverse list. Directed by Koyuhei Ishiguro. I apologize if I completely mispronounced that name. I apologize for that. Words Bubble Up Like Soda Pop is just very, very beautiful looking animated movie. I have very specific loves for certain anime styles, and this one just hit it. It just hit that like really colorful, bubbly type of anime style, which I just love it. But it's a very simple, just lovely, nice movie. Basically, it's just a lovely, nice movie. Especially to follow up Pearl and X and Barbarian and The Menu and a bunch of horror stuff. It's just a nice, simple movie. Just a nice simple movie about like summer and some summer love that happens, and like the awkwardness of teenage years, and the love you can get for like your first love kind of a thing, and music and summer. It's just great. It's just a really good movie. I gave it a 4-star. It's just good. It's just a really good movie. And also like the dub of it, good. Dub of it's good. I watch a lot of dub anime because my brain just has to do other things at one time, so I can't focus solely on subtitles. So it's a good dub too. It's just a good movie. Just a good, plain old, simple movie. And I finally finished watching a documentary. I love documentaries as well. There's a couple documentaries in here too. But I finally got around to watching the documentary Street Gang, or How We Got to Sesame Street, the 2021 documentary about the making of Sesame Street. And man, Documentaries have a certain way of just making me tear up sometimes. This one made me tear up sometimes because it's the story of Sesame Street and how it came to be is one of the greatest things in television history that just is so pure. It's just so pure, so lovely. And I'm glad Sesame Street exists because I watched a lot of Sesame Street growing up. And I'm assuming a lot of other kids also watch Sesame Street growing up because it's Sesame Street. That's just what you do. And it's just great. Just watch the documentary. It's so good. It was directed by Marilyn Agrillo. Again, apologies for these names. I'm terrible. I am terrible at names. But Marilyn Agrillo is the director of it. And it's just a good documentary. If you want a good, heartfelt, heartwarming documentary, just watch Street Gang. It's just so good. It's really good. 4.5 star, but documentaries are a bit weird when it comes to like rating things because of documentaries, but 4.5 stars for documentary. Next thing was another, I'm not going to say low score, but a neutral score, honestly. And I finally got around to watching Kimmy, which came out last year from HBO Max. Give it a 3.5 star. Give it a 3.5 star. It was directed by Steven Soderbergh, so I was expecting a little more from it. Just a little more from it. It was an interesting movie. It was an interesting movie for sure. Zoe Kravitz is good as Kimmy in it. Zoe Kravitz is the stand-up. She's every scene in the movie is basically her, but she's really good in the movie. But like, I don't know. It's a movie literally about the pandemic, kind of, but slightly after the pandemic. It's a weird way to put it. I don't know. Like, I liked what it was going for. I just felt like for like 2/3 of the movie, nothing really was happening. And I felt like they could have done a little more with it. It was fine. It was completely fine. A 3.5 star. Was expecting a little more of it. Just expecting a little more. So now we're in just a streak of just bad movies here that I'm just finally catching up on. So, I watched Hellboy, not the original Hellboy from Guillermo del Toro. I love that one. No. I watched the new Hellboy from 2019, directed by Neil Marshall, starring David Harbour. David Harbour's real good in the movie. He's real good in the movie. This movie's not good, though. This movie's not good. I like Hellboy. I think Hellboy is really cool as a character. I love the Guillermo del Toro version of Hellboy. I think that version really understands the character of Hellboy. This movie is just all over the place. And I remember when I was working at a theater when this movie came out, and remember how no one was seeing this movie just at all. Like, I remember one guy who went and saw the movie and he was like, no, I like the movie. I thought it was really good. And I was like, man, I have got to do other stuff right now than talk about this movie because I don't want to see this movie. Finally watched it. It is just all over the place. It is just simply all over the place. And I don't know how to talk about it. I think it adapts like 4 different Hellboy stories and it doesn't really adapt any of them well. I think is the issue. Yeah, if you like Hellboy, just go watch the Del Toro ones or watch the animated Hellboy movies. Don't watch this. But David Harbour's good. David Harbour's really good in it. And I love me some David Harbour. So that's fun, at least. That's fun. Next is another documentary. This was actually happening right around the time that all the Wizards of the Coast stuff was happening with Dungeons and Dragons. I was like, I'm just going to watch this not ironically, but I'm just going to watch this as a fun thing. But I watched a documentary called Eye of the Beholder, The Art of Dungeons and Dragons. I'm not going to talk about much of this one. I give it a 4 star. It's a good documentary about the artwork of Dungeons and Dragons and the history of the artwork with it. It's cool. It's a cool documentary. It was on Amazon Prime. It's just fun. It's a fun little documentary about the artwork and about how the artwork came to be and talking to the artists that are still alive. There are a couple of them that have passed away. Just talking about the artist that did the artwork for Dungeons and Dragons, both original Dungeons and Dragons, new Dungeons and Dragons, all stuff. It's fun, especially if you like the artwork and you like D&D and role-playing games. It's a fun watch. It's a fun watch. Next one's a big one for me that I missed last year, and I really meant to watch it. I finally got around to it. The Bad Guys. I loved this movie. I loved this movie. Oh, also, I forgot. Eye of the Beholder directed by Kelly Slagle and Brian Stillman was the directors of Eye of the Beholder. Okay. Anyway, Bad Guys though. Bad Guys. Directed by Pierre Perifel. What a name. What a name. That sounds French. What an absolute name that is. I loved The Bad Guys so much. I loved this movie so much. It felt like DreamWorks returning to form. And by returning to form, I mean just making good animated movies that weren't Disney. And it felt so good to watch that. And also the animation in it was just so good. There were certain moments in this movie where it's like they know what to do with animation, don't they? They just know what to do. It felt so fluid. It felt like funny. Like, the animation itself felt funny. The script was great. The acting in it was great. It was like watching it was like watching one of the Ocean's movies, but as like an animated movie with anthropomorphic animals and also humans, and it was great. Also, I loved all those little like nods and references to other like heist movies. So good. I love this movie. It's so good. I love this movie. Loved it. Another movie I loved was also 4.5 stars for Bad Guys, if you couldn't tell. Another movie I watched was Devotion. It was on Paramount Plus. Finally got around to watching it. There were a lot of like good plane movies that came out last year that I still need to watch. Maverick, and I will probably watch Maverick this month, so you'll be hearing me talk about that this month. But yeah, directed by J.D. Dillard, starring Jonathan Majors, Glenn Powell. So it's good. Based on a true story, based on a very true story that I didn't actually know the history behind. It was a very, very good movie. Very, very powerful movie. Jonathan Majors is such a phenomenal actor in just everything he's in. I cannot wait to see him in Creed 3 after finally watching Creed 2 at some point. I cannot wait to see him as Kang in Ant-Man. I just cannot wait to see him in more movies because Jonathan Majors is so good. Just so good. Watch Devotion. It's a good movie. It's definitely a drama, and it has those like pacing, I'm gonna say issues, but it's paced like a drama. So there are times where like it's a little slow. There are times where it gets a little faster. So like if you just watch it and you understand what you're getting into and watching it, it's a phenomenal movie. Just an absolute phenomenal movie. 4.5 stars for Devotion. Definitely watch it. This next one's an interesting one as well. I watched it on a very unfortunate night when I watched it. Directed by Richard Linklater. Apollo 10.5, A Space-Age Childhood. It's a rotoscoped animated movie in the 50s and 60s about this kid who's just growing up in like the space age of the 60s, and just his childhood and how he went on a secret mission to land on the moon, the Apollo 10.5, basically before the moon landing. I gave it a 3 star. I gave this movie a 3 stars. I think the movie is good, and honestly, I think it would have been better if it was just an animated movie about growing up in the 60s. Rather than it being a movie about this kid who supposedly went to the moon growing up in the 60s. Because all the NASA stuff, all the space stuff didn't work for me in the movie. Because I'm like, this doesn't fit anything else. Because a lot of the movie is just the narrator talking about their childhood and growing up in the 60s. I'm like, I want to hear that. I just want to see these little vignettes of this kid's childhood and growing up, rather than like, oh yeah, then I was at NASA and did like a bunch of space stuff and then I landed on the moon. It's like, I don't want to see that. I want to see the slice of life 60s animated stuff. That was fun. So it's a mixed bag. It's a mixed bag, and honestly, there's such a long chunk of the movie where it's just him like talking about his childhood. I'm like, is the NASA stuff actually important in this movie at all? Honestly, no. It's honestly not really that important. So yeah, it's an interesting one. It's an interesting one for sure. Next one, same thing. This one's a recent Netflix documentary called The Hatchet-Wielding Hitchhiker, about the meme guy, about the meme hitchhiker guy, Kai. Interesting documentary. Definitely felt like a Netflix documentary for sure. It was directed by Colette Camden. It's an interesting documentary. To say the least. I didn't really know much about the story of this guy. I knew the meme, as everyone kind of knew the meme of the like smash guy. Everyone knew the meme of that. So like it's an interesting documentary for sure, but it definitely feels like a Netflix documentary, but not like, it doesn't feel fully like a Netflix documentary, you know, whereas like, oh, they're fully leaning to one side of this thing. No, it's actually a pretty even keel documentary. But like, yeah, it's just an interesting documentary. Like, can't really say much more about it. Like, yeah, it just is. It just is. But yeah, I give it a 3 star. It's fine. However, the next movie is not fine. The next movie is actually great, and it's Intergalactic from Fletcher Moles, and it's oh boy, this movie's good. It's a love story. It's a modern love story in New York with music produced by Kid Cudi, and I believe Kid Cudi voices the main character in this as well, with an animation style similar to Spider-Verse, and it's just like, oh my god, this movie's beautiful. This movie's beautiful in so many different ways. Just, oh god, I can't even fathom how to talk about this movie. It's just so good. It's just so good. Oh, it's such a good movie. And it's not even that long of a movie. I think it's like an hour and a half long, maybe an hour 45. But it's just a pure hour and a half, hour 45 of just some of the most beautiful stuff you'll ever see outside of like Spider-Verse in terms of animation. It's just so good. Watch Intergalactic. Another really good movie that I finally got around to watching, Emily the Criminal. I heard a lot about this movie. Heard a lot about this movie because I do follow Aubrey Plaza. Just by John Patton Ford. It's a good movie. It's, as I put it in my like little Instagram review of it, it's a less anxiety inducing Uncut Gems, and that's a good thing because Uncut Gems, very great movie, very anxiety inducing. Like, I'm pretty sure I had a panic attack in the theater watching that movie. But Emily the Criminal, so good. Aubrey Plaza, so good in it. Yeah, 4.5 stars, 100% 4.5 stars for this movie. It is so good. And it really just details how bad our current like system is in terms of like jobs and like feeling like you have to belong in a job, and how criminal internships are and how criminal certain jobs are. Yeah, it's just great. It's just absolutely a great movie. Just go watch it. Just go watch it. Also, Aubrey Plaza, one of the best. I love Aubrey Plaza. I love her. I love Aubrey Plaza so much. So just seeing her in things is just so good. But yeah, just go watch Another Criminal. Next one's an A24. Next one's an A24. I went on a little A24 bin. I love me some A24. I love me some A24 so much. This one's Lamb. This one, I will say, a little bit of a disappointment. Directed by Vladimir Johannesson. Lamb was a disappointment. Lamb was a bit of a disappointment. I gave it a 3 stars. Honestly, I might give it a little bit less. It was a disappointment. It was a very big disappointment to me. I was expecting more A24-ness from this movie. I was expecting some more, but no. It didn't go far enough. I don't think it went far enough. I was expecting more Lighthouse. Expecting more Lighthouse kind of stuff. I didn't get it. From the trailer, I thought I was expecting a lot more. I was disappointed. Is it good? Yeah, it's still good. Still definitely a good movie. It's still an interesting watch, and it is it's weird. It's a weird one. It is a definite A24 weird one. But yeah, this is probably the most disappointed movie I was in, because like, at least with Don't Worry Darling and Hellboy, I had a feeling they were going to be bad. This one I wanted to be so much better, and it just didn't end up that way, and I am sad about it. But I do still recommend watching it just to get that experience. I do recommend watching it. But yeah, disappointment. Next one is a movie that I had never heard of before. Came out in 2012 and I completely missed it, but like, everything about it was something that I was going to probably love, and lo and behold, I did. It's a movie called Frances Ha, from Noah Baumbach, written by Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig, starring Greta Gerwig. So yeah, everything about this movie, I liked it. It's a black and white movie. Is it black and white? Yeah, it's black and white. Black and white the whole time, right? No, I think there's color in the movie at times. Maybe black and white. I can't remember, to be honest. I think it's black and white the whole time. Anyway, it's a movie about a girl who is in like her 20s, her like mid 20s, just trying to figure out life. Just a simple movie about trying to figure out life and doing life in general, just doing stuff in life and just trying to figure it out. And it's just good. It's just a good movie. Also got some David Bowie playing in it at times. It has a really great soundtrack that I just loved a lot of that soundtrack. And it's just, it's a full out, like, you can see the genesis of like Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig and their like cinematic styles with that. And I really like that. However, I did feel it was a bit like nothing was happening in the movie. I will admit there was like nothing really happened in the movie, which is kind of the point. It's one of those movies where it's like, no, we're just seeing life as it is. So I gave it a 3.5. I feel very confident with a 3.5 star for this movie. I feel very confident with it because like it doesn't do much, but I can see the genesis of Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig with their styles in this for sure. And yeah. It's a good movie. I will say. I rate it a little lower compared to everything else. Maybe because I was coming off of Lamb and I was really disappointed in that. I just was not in the right headspace for it. But you know what? We're here for it, and I liked it. Next one, something I didn't like. And this is the last one I watched in January. So this is the last one. Directed by Tomomi Mochizuki. It was a Ghibli film from 1993. Called Ocean Waves. And I watched Ocean Waves because it was a shorter movie, so I could watch it in a night. This was just like Lamb. I was expecting way more from this movie because it's a Ghibli film, and it just wasn't. It just wasn't. And I don't exactly know how to describe it other than like all the characters in it are not that likable, and it's a love story that you don't really get behind until the very end. Like the very, very end of this movie is like, oh, okay, there's the cuteness of this that I was expecting the whole time. It just isn't there. Now, the animation of it, I love it. It's that, like, peak 90s, like, city pop background in like a playlist type of, like, scenes. Where, like, you can just take, like, frames of this movie, put it as, like, the background of a city pop playlist on YouTube, and be like, nah, this is my aesthetic, man. I'm here for it. It's, like, nice, soft pastel colors, all that. It's just, I just didn't like it. I just didn't like this movie. It was just not that good. It was just not that good compared to, like, other Ghibli films. And I was just a little disappointed with it. I'm just very disappointed with it. But that was what I watched. Also, 2.5 stars for that one. 2.5 stars. So a little bit better than Don't Worry Darling and Hellboy, but just a disappointment. Just a really disappointment. But those are the movies I watched in January. There was a lot of them. There was a lot of movies. Yeah, there's a lot of movies. I watched a couple movies 2 times, like 2 movies in a day. Some of them just watched 1 a day. I just skipped a bunch of days. But those are all the things I watched in January. So yeah, like I said, let me know down in the comments, did you watch any of these movies as well? Or have you watched any of these movies? And what did you think about them as well? And what did you think about this list of films as well? As I said before, I highly recommend just watching them anyway, just to get your own opinions on them. But yeah, this is my list of movies. But yeah, if you like this video, leave a like. If you like the channel and want to see more movie stuff as well, just like little mini reviews like this and more videos. I also do reaction videos normally. You can go ahead and subscribe as well. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers for sure. And yeah, I'm trying to honestly get to 1,000 subscribers in partnership before my birthday. That's in July though. That's in July. But if I can get to 1,000 before July, honestly, I don't know what I do. I don't know what I do. I would do something big. I would want to do something big. But yeah, so yeah, if you like the videos, well, leave a little like, comment down below if you've seen these movies, and subscribe as well. And until next time, over here's going to be a playlist of some other reviews that I've done just throughout the channel history. So watch those reviews. And over here's going to be a video that YouTube recommends for you as well from the channel. Watch that too. And until next time, keep watching movies, everyone. Keep watching movies, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, peace, everyone. Peace.